All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whether you're watching this live or on replay. I want to talk about why I absolutely love the fourth quarter, why I absolutely love the current state of the real estate market. I know people aren't all excited as me. 8% mortgage rates don't excite everybody, but let me tell you, as somebody who works closely alongside buyers, if you're a buyer, please listen to the next 5 minutes. I am having clients find more and more success buying homes at their speed, on their terms, with the concessions they need to structure a mortgage that really makes sense to them. So if you've previously been pre-approved, if you've looked at real estate and been discouraged and decided to take a break, if there was a time to re-engage, if there was a time to look and say, you know what, let me see what I could find in the neighborhood I really want to live in at the $450,000 price point with a mortgage payment that's comfortable for me. I know for certain, because it's already happened and it will continue to happen over the next 3 to 6 months, deals are going to be put together that are going to truly benefit the buyer. And the misconception people get is that benefiting the buyer means that the seller loses. The seller won't necessarily lose. I think some unrealistic sellers might feel like they lost, but in today's market, a home that sold in May of 23 for $645,000, a buyer might get into contract for $615 with $15,000 in credit. Use that $15,000 in credit to do a 2-1 buy down or to do a 1-0 buy down and pay for all their closing costs. Now, seller might feel like they lost because my neighbor sold for this higher value in May. Well, if you had a real estate agent on the sell side that explained to you how things work, prices generally peak in the spring, and then fall and winter, they come down in almost any market. And if you look at it, like, the data is clear that home prices, and when I say fall or come down, we're not talking drastic, right? But between June, July, and call it January, you might see 0.8%, 0.6% per month of home price depreciation, which in layman's terms means that you can get a home for a better price in November than you could get it for in May, in most markets, in most years. And what's going on right now is that mortgage interest rates going up, in my opinion, probably stronger than an opinion, it's probably fact, are adding fuel to that fire, which is less demand and lowering prices throughout the end of the year. We saw this in 2022. Q4 of 2022, people were able to pay less for real estate than they paid for that same real estate, the same comparables in the summer. Q4 2023, same thing. In my opinion, it's going to be even better for the buyers, meaning lower price, more concession. Whether or not you choose to participate, that's on you. But the sellers that are selling, most of them got to sell, right? And so the fact that they're going to have to sell it for $615 with $15,000 in credit versus the neighbor that got $645 with no credit in May, essentially netting $45,000 less, which rough math, 650, 45, what is that? Like an 8% less of a net. Hey, it's the way the ball bounces and it's a different time of year. As a buyer, that should excite you. As a buyer, what should also excite you, because I know I live alongside buyers. I celebrate alongside buyers. I cry alongside buyers. I'm on team buyer. And I know that the markets where you compete, you find a house that's perfect in every way. You put together an offer that you feel is strong. You go $20,000 above their list price. You shorten your appraisal contingency. You shorten your inspection contingency. You tell them you can close it in 17 days. You do all the things and you don't get it. We thought that was the one. And then the next weekend you go out and you tour 7 homes and you find the one, you tell your agent, this is the one, 25,000 above list. Remove the appraisal contingency. If it appraises low, we'll pay the difference. We want the inspection contingency in there, but shorten it to 10 days. We'll get that done quick. We'll close this one in 16 days. It went to somebody else. You take a week off. You're dejected. Go back out the weekend after that. Nothing fits the bill. The weekend after that, 9 homes. 2 that you kind of like. 1, you're like, we could make the changes to this home where it would be the one. Let's offer. That one doesn't get accepted. That's what buyers go through. It's tiring just talking that through. Now, what I'm telling you about the current market is that it is a lot different process from a buyer's perspective. When something's been on the market for 14 or 17 or 20 days, you don't have this submit offers by Tuesday type urgency. You don't have the, I'm competing against 7 other people. What do I have to do? Is it a letter? Is it rent back? Is it waiving continue? Like, that's a lot of pressure as a buyer. And for a buyer who's especially a first-time buyer, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars more than they've ever spent in their life, like that can be exhausting, overwhelming, dejecting, all the things. So the fact that we're in a slower moving market, prices softening, sellers conceding, is nothing but positive for buyers. Now, I know the pushback I'll get is, Matt, you haven't mentioned the interest rates. You haven't mentioned the $4,000 a month mortgage payment that I'm staring down the barrel of. I get it. That's the biggest deterrent, and that's the biggest thing for buyers that is slowing them down. The one piece of advice I have for that is that if you're in the position to buy, it's never been a timing issue for me. It's never, what are interest rates doing? Is it the best time in the market? Can I predict when will be the lowest of the low in price and rate and a combination of the two economic factors? You won't win playing that game. Real estate is a long-term play. If you hold real estate for a long time, you're going to win. What determines when you buy real estate, W-H-E-N, because you're always going to W-I-N, win, if you hold it long enough. But when, as in what timing to buy real estate, is when you're financially ready. Got a stable job you feel really good about. I'm going to be here next year and the year after. I'm going to make more, not less, in the future in this position. I've got my credit card debt paid down or paid off or at a comfortable payment range. I've got, an extra $1,500 a month in my budget that I'm not touching. And I know that because I'm saving it every single month. The things that make it to where you're financially stable and you can look at a 30-year fixed rate mortgage and say, you know what? I might not have thought that I'm going to get into a $3,800 mortgage in the past, but I know I can handle it. And I know that over time, my income is going to get greater. A refinance opportunity might allow me to lower that payment by $500 a month. I'm going to take a good hard look at some of the stuff that just spills out of my bank account every month. A couple less Dutch Brothers, couple less, if you eat out nowadays, that's $100 a trip, like at not the nice places. So there's going to be concessions made on the buyers of today. I get it, right? But the fact that it's a market where you have time, flexibility, negotiations to maybe put something together, like I talked about, 15,000 in credit, use that 15,000 however you'd like. Permanent rate buy down, temporary rate buy down, paying closing costs, keeping, more reserves to where, hey, I don't know how this $3,800 a month mortgage payment is going to feel, but I'm going to have 20,000 in the bank in reserve funds to make sure that I don't, stress myself out and end up in the hospital. Or I'm going to do a 1.0 buy down, which saves me $350 a month for the first month. So I go $3,450 a month for the first 12 months, then $3,800, get myself acclimated to that new payment. Maybe in 12 months I can refinance. No guarantees, but maybe, right? Or maybe I'm in this for two years. Okay, let's get to some questions. Fire away, please. It's cool to see some old friends in the chat. I want to hear your questions, comments, concerns. I'm moving fast and I'm talking fast because one, I'm excited, and two, I might have to skedaddle at 3:30 to get to an appointment down the street. Joey Garessi, the man, the myth, the legend from OKC. It's been a long time. I'm glad you're here live. Congratulations on the kiddo, 1-month-old baby boy. I read in the comments, thriving, doing well. Condolences in advance for Sacramento going a lot further this season than the OKC Thunder, but that's a whole nother issue. We still got to do a video on the deal that we closed and all the fun behind it, because people love stories, man. We're going to do that video. The trials and tribulations of getting loans to the finish line. You know what? I got NBA League Pass. I'm going to check out Thunder and Spurs because I want to see Wemby too. My kiddo, of course, talked me into NBA League Pass. You get on YouTube for only $15 a month. Miss Taylor, thanks for joining. It's been a while. See, all my old friends are back. I'm glad to see you guys here. I appreciate it. Fire away with questions. Any questions you got? Local celebrity, Ryan Lundquist. Thanks for joining, brother. Good to see you as always. Did you see the letter to Jerome Powell from NAHB, MBA, and NAR? The housing market is feeling those rates. I didn't. That's interesting. Maybe I should make a video on it. They actually wrote something to Jerome Powell, told him to pump the brakes, maybe hit reverse for a second. For sure, the housing market's feeling it. And the crazy part is, this is a conversation I had recently, Ryan, that you would have enjoyed with everything that the Fed is doing to curb inflation. And, for people that are just watching from the peripherals and they're like, I don't know what's going on, but mortgage rates are up, car loan interest rates are up, my credit card interest rate is up. The Fed is able to increase the Fed funds rate, which affects all of that in an indirect way. The conversation I had, Ryan, was just around the fact that, man, oh man, it feels like the real estate market is getting the brunt of what is, an attempted soft landing. It's not feeling very soft for the 100,000 loan officers that won't be in the business at the end of 23. give or take, right? 180,000 in 21 did a loan, 70,000 or fewer will do a loan. And that's all it takes to be an active loan officer is one loan a year, which if you're doing one loan a year, you're not supporting a family. You're probably not great at it, but that's a whole nother point. But anyhow, it's affecting real estate in a major way. So I'm gonna look up that letter, NAR letter to Jerome Powell. They call on the Fed to provide market certainty. Okay. This was recently, I think, huh? All these articles are within the last hour. Well, that's a good call out there, Mr. Ryan Lundquist. I'm going to check this out. A coalition of housing trade groups called on the Federal Reserve to provide market certainty about the Fed's rate path and its plans for the mortgage-backed securities portfolio. Ongoing market uncertainty, yada, 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 yada. We urge the Fed to take these simple steps to ensure that our sector does not precipitate the hard landing the Fed has tried so hard to avoid. Yeah. You know what's interesting about this, Ryan, is I'm just skimming this article, but they talk about the spread between the 30-year mortgage rates and the 10-year Treasury yield historically high levels, signaling deal uncertainty about where the Fed is headed. To make that clear for everybody, just like in the simplest terms as I can say it, generally speaking, the 10-year Treasury, which today is, I don't know, 4.8 or something. I haven't looked at it in a couple days. 10-year Treasury. The difference, aka the spread between the 10-year Treasury and the 30-year fixed rate mortgage, is usually, historically, over decades, 1.6, 1.8, less than 2% difference. If you look at it today, 4.8 and 7.8, 3 full percentage points, 300 basis point difference between the US 10-year Treasury note and the 30-year fixed rate mortgage. The reason why that spread is so big, to this article's point, is because there's uncertainty. When there's volatility and uncertainty, it's going to be larger. So I hear what they're saying is saying, Fed, provide some direction, some certainty, some clarity, so that this 4.8, let me see if I can do finger gestures, and 7.8, 10-year Treasury, 30-year fixed rate mortgage, so that these lines come back together to a lower, more historic spread difference, 3% to 1.6. Because you know what that would do to mortgage interest rates? 4.8, 7.8, 300 basis points, 3% spread, 1.6% spread. All of a sudden, you got a 6.4% mortgage rate. And the crazy part is 6.4 doesn't sound very low, but 6.4 compared to what people are writing today as of this video live is a sweet, sweet deal. Kevin Hawthorne, Lakeland, Florida. Good to see you, brother. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you. Harold Newbill. What's up, buddy? Hope all is well with you, my man. Can be rough, but keep trying. You'll eventually be buying. I like that. That's a good one. And it's the truth. You know, one rental at a time. If you haven't checked out that channel, Mike Zuber does a ton of content around buying one rental at a time, around real estate investing in general. And his mantra, his call to action for anybody who follows, and I, second and third and fourth this opinion, is do the work. Do the work to understand the market you're in. Do the work to just understand real estate. Good deal, bad deal, somewhat decent deal. Because with that clarity, people are buying in every market. I know real estate investors that are active, and others that are like, I wouldn't ever buy in this market or that market, or now versus last year, whatever the case may be. Well, there's people winning currently, right, in this market. And so the question becomes like, is it that there's no deals, or is it your skill set is not one that's good enough to find the good deals that exist? So thanks for joining, Harold. I appreciate you, brother. Ryan's following up with a comment on what I talked about earlier about, two nights of not going out. Dude, salads at entry-level restaurants are $23 now. Kids meals, double digits. One of my favorites, chicken fajita pita from Jack in the Box, is $7.19 solo, nothing else. It's wild. I mean, Little Caesars is cheap pizza. I bought that for some teenagers last night, and those things are $15.99 a piece now. I mean, it was a specialty one, but it was nice. But yeah, everything's more expensive. All right, Joey Garesi in for the video. I honestly haven't even talked to Adam to know what all happened. I just know that mortgage, real estate creates some really fun stories. So look forward. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, subscribe, because we've got a real life story coming from Joey Garesi. I've got 800 plus videos talking about all things mortgage. How does an escrow account work? Should I buy points? There's out of 800 videos, there's got to be a few good ones. And the value, in my opinion, above most everything is that I'm going to continue to make videos, continue to make up-to-date videos, because something I said last year might not necessarily be true today. Mortgage guidelines will change. Markets will change. Things that are common or, acceptable in one market might not apply 2 years later. And that's where I think people find value in, if you Google any question regards to anything and you get an article from 4 years ago, it's not necessarily going to help you in 2024. If on January 3rd of 2024, you search for a video and I made it January 2nd of 2024, it's likely to be up-to-date information that you can bank on. So that's that. Kenny A, great question. What are your thoughts on Fannie Mae going to 5% down on small multifamily? I love it. I love it. It's been something that I know different lender groups, different broker associations have been asking of Fannie and Freddie both. If you did not catch it, guys, I made a video on it. 2 to 4 units used to require, even if you're owner occupying, and this is a specific owner occupant loan, you're going to live in one of the units. Old rule, duplex, otherwise known as a 2-unit, you had to put 15% down, live in one side, rent out the other. 3 to 4 unit, you would have to put 25% down, live in one side, rent out, the other 2 to 3 units, I guess, right? As of November 18th, 2023, so we're talking about 6 weeks into the future, you're going to be able to put 5% down up to 4 units, conventional. The only player in town was FHA. FHA allows you to do 3.5%, live in one, rent out the others. In California, you were really stuck on 3 to 4 because there's self-sustainability rule that made it hard. So there's a lot to unpack. The best thing to do, in my humble opinion, is go to greatmortgagebroker.com, fill out a quick form, connect with me and my team, whether you're in Tennessee or Florida or Texas or California or Oregon or Washington or anywhere. 48 states we're in. I got 2 states, and both of those states I know off the top of my head who I'm going to refer you to if it's not one of the 48 we're licensed in. And those 2 are phenomenal. As phenomenal as our inside team here at UMortgage. But go to greatmortgagebroker.com. We'll talk to you about whether or not it makes sense. You need to get yourself pre-approved and you start looking at the numbers. That is a way, in my opinion, that a lot of people are going to be able to get into housing, and it's subsidizing your payment. That's what the house hack really is. So let me get back to these comments. Who we got? Man, we got a lot of the Fed hasn't broken prices so much, but they sure have broken volume. Yeah, I mean it's a tough, weird market, right? Prices have not come down substantially, really anywhere. If you were to make the argument, Ryan, maybe in some of these boom markets, they'll call them, some parts of Florida, some parts of Texas, Boise, Idaho, where it went bonkers, 50, 60% price appreciation over a 2-year period. Like, of course, you see a 15, 20% pullback in some of those markets. But for the most part, you're right. And, places like Sacramento, it would be welcome for a lot of buyers if prices came down. But with this dynamic of such small inventory, even with limited demand, prices are staying elevated. What line number is used on the 1040 qualify for income? There's a bunch of different ways to do self-employed income, Nicole. Like if you have a Schedule C, there's a net income number. It's probably line 31. I haven't really scrubbed tax returns in a while. I got a great team that helps with that. But depending on that, if you're using some of that income to qualify, you have to get yourself pre-approved. This is the number one mistake I see from people is like trying to self-calculate stuff. Get your stuff into a lender. Get yourself pre-approved. Let them tell you, hey, we can pre-approve you up to $350,000 with 10% down. Here's what it's going to look like. We've done, all the calculations, and in a file, if it's a good lender, like they've literally got the Excel spreadsheet on your specific file on how they calculate their income, and they turn that into the lender. Okay. Joey Garessi, he wants to give a thumbs up to Fannie. Hey, moment of silence for Fannie. Fannie, you done good here. Big for small and mighty investors. I agree. Kenny A, love the ORAC community. I second, third, and fourth that. Brian Adams, appreciate you, brother. Look at $10 super chat. Man, that's cool. That's cool to think that somebody on the interwebs is like, Matt, this is valuable stuff. Here's a $10 tip. I appreciate it. We were talking about how expensive eating out is earlier in this, and when I go out, I got some great service at Chili's the other day. The family went there, and we left a good tip. The wifey and I were in service, so we appreciate good service, and we're good tippers. I appreciate the tip that I'm receiving here. How do you decide whether to use single income or dual income when getting a mortgage? My guess, Brian, is this question is, do I use just my income or mine and my spouse's? My personal opinion, is if you don't need to use both, don't, right? And I've got a deal going right now where I'm having that conversation. If we qualify with just her income or just his income, we should only use one. Put one person on the mortgage. Both can be on title, but there's advantages to the rules that say you can get 10 conventional loans. He can, she can, and that's the max. And my thought process is best case scenario, you guys, both careers take off. You guys both make $500,000 a year. You both can finance 10 individual properties, the best financing that there is, which is the Fannie Freddie conventional stuff. And then you got 20 finance properties. You can use leverage, get the best deals. Worst case scenario, the sky falls, financial ruin. You go into foreclosure on a property or two of a few that you've assembled. If that happens and one spouse has their credit ruined and one spouse is able to avoid that because those properties are in that spouse's name, then you put it in your mama's name, like the old rap song says, right? You put it in the person with the good credit's name. That was probably, yeah. So that's my advice there, Brian. All right, Sharon, for new build, it won't be ready for another 4 to 5 months. Whew, this is a tough one, man. See, this is where they get you. Like, I would want to lock today, but I wouldn't want to pay $13K up front for a 6-month lock. Hit me up on this one, Sharon, because I want to see what you're in touch with us. Send me exactly what they're proposing, and I'll tell you whether I like it, I don't like it. I'll pretend like it's my mortgage, and I'll advise accordingly. I really got to run, guys. I got a 3:30 appointment. Give yourself a raise. Looking forward to meeting you at Zuber's event next February, one rental at a time. If you're part of that community, you haven't bought a ticket, you should. That lineup that Zuber has for February 17th and 18th in Vegas to celebrate 50,000 subscribers over there is going to be an amazing event. One more owner-occ property before leaving my W-2. All right. Best of luck to you. Get out there and find a great deal. 2020, you had 80 or 90 homes in your buy box. Today, 29. Well, it's good that there's still 29. For some, it's even less. All right. I got to run. 3:30 appointment. Thank you so much for everyone that joined. Fire away questions here. Get a hold of me and the team at greatmortgagebroker.com. Go to mtmg.com if you want to go straight to an application and fill that out. But if you go to greatmortgagebroker.com, you fill out the form, we're going to connect with you. We're going to connect you with the loan officer that specializes in the state you're in. California, you're probably talking to me or Michelle. Texas or Florida, you're probably talking to Connor. Other states, you're going to talk to other team members, but we're here to help. We're happy to help. And go out there and find yourself a great deal. It's game time. Winners are going to win in the fourth quarter. I promise you that. Take care.